Shout out to Hello Yasin, and most importantly, Muslim. Shout out to y'all for tapping in. This video is how Jay-Z killed his own clothing brand. Now, what's funny about this is Dame Dash is currently starting his own clothing brand now, with his sneakers and stuff like that. But he been doing stuff like that. Me personally, I used to wear a lot of RocAWear when I was little. RocAWear, little Pele jackets, freaking Sean John, just all of the stuff that was popping at the time. And I never really knew what happened to RocAWear, but now we get to find out. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into the video.
RocAWear, since its inception, has been a part of hip-hop culture. It's primarily related to the rise of Jay-Z, who tried to set himself apart from...
Before I get into it, do you think if he was to bring this back, it would sell? Let me know in the comment section.
...from the rest of the pack by dressing very different for his concerts and music videos. In 1995, Jay-Z, Kareem Burke, and their longtime friend and business colleague Dame Dash established RocAWear Records. Dame suggested that Jay-Z, eventually after years later, launch an urban apparel line, given his expertise in the field.
What's crazy about that is he had a rich $1 million in state property. If he still, I don't know whatever happened to that watch. Of course, he probably don't even know. But if he used to still have that joint, I know that would be worth a lot of money because that's an old school joint.
The term urban clothing was unknown to most at the time, and even fewer stores stocked that kind of clothing. So this was innovation from the get-go, although you somewhat had brands like FUBU taking off at the time. And even though Tommy Hilfiger's entry into streetwear was relatively new, Dame and Jay-Z were well versed in the customs of hip-hop culture. RocAWear Enterprises established its apparel label RocAWear in 1999 with the help of a small group of investors. Dame managed RocAWear's finances as Jay-Z and Kareem Biggs worked on the rap side of things, continuing to drop albums while wearing the brand's clothing. The firm's quick growth is largely...
Why they don't talk about his homie, what's his name, DeHaven or something like that? He got a whole Marcy made project out. I don't see nobody talk about him because he the one that said he gave the money to Dame Dash to start everything up. That's what I heard through the whole story, and that's what he keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how true it is though.
Attributed to Jay-Z and Dame's ingenious co-branding strategy and their huge network and influence over not only the rap side of the music industry, but the listeners. The initial concept for Dame included the addition of the singer Charlotte Ronson. Ronson always wanted to launch her own clothing line, but she never knew where to begin. She was just 21 years old at the time and partnered with RocAWear to access distribution and money. Since then, she was able to focus more energy on refining her items' designs. Between 2000 and 2003, RocAWear was blowing up in the streets. In 2000, RocAWear released their Afro Thunder line of clothing for the Ready to Rumble video game. Sony's Midway Games subsidiary was called upon to help with this. Towards the end of the year, Macy's introduced a line of clothing inspired by the Rumble video game. As additional Rumble games came out, fans of the series and newcomers alike purchased items from that exclusive clothing line. When Beanie Siegel was cast in the 2002 film State Property, it gave RocAWear Records another opportunity at stardom. The movie took place
down
in
and lay
city
down.
and had a lot of the elements of hip-hop. It was a joint production between Lionsgate and RocAWear's newest collections were shown during the event and the movie. By titling their clothing company State Property, they split the earnings with Beanie Siegel. Siegel, Philadelphia rapper, wore RocAWear throughout both of the films. In the middle of the year, after spending the first half in LA, Dame and the crew traveled to Paris to shoot a commercial for RocAWear's new State Property collection and other items. Models, rappers, and even Victoria Beckham of the girl group The Spice Girls were cast in a commercial for Dame that was shot in and around Paris. He believed that people in Europe would like it. RocAWear also had a shop in the Netherlands capital Amsterdam. Even though RocAWear was now a $120 million business with a strong image as an urban lifestyle brand in the US, Dame was set on growing the brand internationally. A year prior, RocAWear had moved its headquarters from 7th Avenue to a 35,000 square foot showroom in New York City's Garment District. and their slogan was, "It's not where you're from, it's what you rock." Charlotte Ronson's clothing line had a storefront window display at RocAWear the next year. Ronson's DJ brother Mark and twin sister Samantha, who were finishing an album for Rockefeller Records, were featured in the brand's new menswear line at the time. Sales of almost $1 million by C. Ronson had shown that RocAWear was right to support the smaller sub-label. In 2003, Dame was at the top of his game. Rockefeller Entertainment, which included Rockefeller Records and Films, made over $300 million in gross revenue. Rockefeller artists had platinum-selling rap albums. Rockefeller Films had successfully released.
Yo, is it true that they broke up because he kept trying to take credit for Jay-Z, like everything that Jay-Z did? Nobody really spoke about that. He always said that Jay-Z betrayed him or something like that. He got tricked by the label. I don't know how true that is, but y'all let me know in the comment section down below.
Released movies, including State Property 2. And in addition to introducing a new lifestyle magazine to the globe, he established Rock Music, a company focusing on hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. To attract more customers and grow his company, Dame advertised his magazine as part of a multicultural movement. He told Crane's New York Business of his plans to conquer the planet and acquire a billion-dollar fortune. In 2003, RocAWear inked a deal with London's Selfridges to market their products and hired Victoria Beckham, wife of star soccer player David Beckham, and Naomi Campbell, a top model, to represent the brand. RocAWear hired David Gensler in the middle of the year to head up a new advertising agency called Native DBG. Dash started the agency to empower RocAWear to grow the company's popularity and customer base. In 2004, though, problems began to arise. Dame's legal troubles at the beginning of 2004 were a setback for the RocAWear brand and the meticulously cultivated rock empire. After Jay-Z supposedly resigned from Rockefeller Records, Def Jam Records, which owned 50% of Rockefeller at the time, expressed interest in hiring him. Def Jam had been after Jay-Z, Dame, and Burke for the better part of years to acquire Rockefeller. Rockefeller is now wholly owned by Def Jam, and each partner got $10 million in exchange. During that deal, Dame was also sued by...
So why do Dame Dash keep saying Jay-Z snaked him?
By a model who claimed he assaulted her. The problems for the new RocAWear advertising agency began around that time. Dame dissolved the firm and laid off most of the staff after having a conflict with Gensler. Roy Edmondson, previously from Levi Strauss, was hired by Dame to serve as vice president of RocAWear. Edmondson's job as RocAWear's director of marketing and public relations was challenging. With what Dash's legal troubles and the fact that Beanie Siegel, the face of the popular State Property clothing line, was going to jail on federal weapons charges. Almost immediately, word spread that Dame and Jay's collaboration with RocAWear had ended. After Jay-Z was made CEO of Def Jam, things quickly deteriorated, although this was Rockefeller Records and not necessarily the clothing brand. Jay-Z was on his own without the co-founders, Dame and Burke, ending up with considerable shares in Def Jam. Dash and Burke were disappointed to learn that Jay-Z had purchased Rockefeller Records. According to rumors, Jay-Z proposed to sell his share of Rockefeller to Dash and Burke for the exclusive rights to his first album on the label, Reasonable Doubt, to make up with them and preserve the peace for their other companies, such as RocAWear. Some speculated that Dame took the job after Burke turned it down. It had been reported that although Burke declined the offer, Dame accepted it. A lot of missing pieces that we may never get the full story. But Dame and Burke were now officially on one side of the supposed split, while Jay-Z was on the other side, the winning side. Despite all the setbacks, though, RocAWear continued to thrive. In 2004, RocAWear started making outerwear in partnership with Brandon Thomas Designs. In addition, the company teamed with Gina Hosiery of New York to develop its first collection of socks, and the business's tired jewelry line, which comprised of watches and other gem-encrusted goods from the brand, was sold by Tiffany & Co. That jewelry, however, costed at least $20,000, making it unattainable for anybody except the high rollers. The Stride Rite Corporation granted RocAWear a license to produce Pro-Keds, and the company planned to issue a limited edition of the shoes under the State Property brand. RocAWear also intended to launch a sportswear line called Team Rock. The New York and Los Angeles Foot Locker stores would be the first to stock it, followed by Macy's. It's puzzling, though, that RocAWear's La Familia ad didn't debut until the middle of that year. Dame's sister, Stacy, also an actress, and his kids and a crew of Rockefeller Records rappers also made appearances.
That was ODB? Jim Jones.
On May 10th, 2004, the Daily News record reported that Dame stated, "Everyone is family under the rock roof. We have a deeper connection than just one of business or friendship. When it comes to art, everyone always cheers each other on."
Hey, Jody. Give me some sugar.
Little ass dog.
It's not a dog. Hey, get off the table. What's wrong with you?
I think you got the message.
There you go.
You're doing great.
How you doing? Anything bad in here, right?
No, nothing bad here.
Dame's comments had a major effect on the campaign, but they also made it difficult for him to keep good terms with colleagues. After dismissing RocAWear's internal marketing agency less than a year earlier, he let off 12 people in November, including Edmondson, the company's vice president of marketing. The Daily News reported on November 29, 2004, that working with
I seen
Dame
this joint. This is the whole thing that went viral where he stormed in and got mad at everybody, started yelling at everybody. I guess this was a meeting about Jay-Z, and he got upset that he wasn't included
for several employees because of his supposed impulsive behavior. "Very few people have heard of my company, but I have lofty goals," Dash told the publication.
Not cool.
That's all good.
Very nice meeting you. This is great.
Just don't make me look stupid, all right?
Ryan Kenny was a partner with the company until he left in 2005. More than a year had passed since RocAWear severed ties with the Nessie Apparel Group before this happened. There had been rumors that Ryan Kenny had disapproved of how RocAWear made their clothes in Malaysia. However, neither Ryan Kenny nor RocAWear commented on that. RocAWear's Pro Keds brand, the joint venture deal with Dame and Patricia Field, had performed well. House of RocAWear, a label inspired by the 70s, included some of those designs. Furthermore, RocAWear did quite well in the United Kingdom as well. But to compete with Diesel and other London designers, the company slimmed down the tops and tightened the bottoms, since the really baggy style didn't have that much of an appeal in these countries. Beanie Siegel made an appearance in State Property 2 in April, not long after the release of his most recent album at the time. But while he was incarcerated, Siegel couldn't promote the film or RocAWear's State Property line of clothing. However, they achieved their goals due to his immense popularity.
You down for that knuckle game, huh?
All day, I do that first. That's first things first. You know what I mean? Watch what you say out your mouth. You know what I mean? Because I might go in it. You know what I mean? Quick.
Yes, sir.
After spending time with Jay-Z and the other RocAWear founders, Dame became disillusioned by around September of 2005. The RocAWear firm, in which he had a sizable stake, was grossing almost $700 million in worldwide sales. His share sales netted him about $30 million.
It seems like Jay-Z always had it planned out by the way things went for him. It seemed like he always had things planned out.
$22.5 million in cash, in addition to control over State Property and Team Rock. Dame claimed that philosophical disagreements were to blame for the breakup. As reported in their article, he spoke with the Daily News on December 15, 2005. "At first, I planned for RocAWear to be monochrome. Jay and the other partners were excited about moving in the opposite direction, but I didn't get it." In response to whether or not he was furious, Dame said, "It was a lovely experience. I could never have predicted that RocAWear would become as popular as it has so rapidly." Dame has said that he was going on to bigger and better ventures, although nothing quite could surpass the success of Rockefeller Records and RocAWear.
Yeah.
After Dame left, business at RocAWear continued. The boutique set up shop in a small shop window at New York City's annual 7th on 6th fashion event. In 2006, RocAWear co-founders Jay-Z, Alex Baez, and Norton Share planned to open European stores. In addition to promoting its Rock Box, which was like the iPod, they intended to introduce new lines for women and young adults. Until Jay-Z sold RocAWear to the Iconics brand group in March 2007 for $204 million.
Damn.
Jay-Z continued to oversee product creation, licensing, and marketing. RocAWear introduced its first social networking site in March 2009. There was cultural information, music, threads, and more. Then, 3 years later, he announced a collaboration between RocAWear and Pharrell's Billionaire Boys Club. And it was quite a bit of a comeback briefly for the brand. But the brand was really dying at this point. Anything post 2010 and it was just nostalgia factor. A story in GQ would come out claiming that RocAWear had acquired the rights to produce.
You had a Vizu, you had RocAWear, you had Pelly Jackets, you had Sean John, you had freaking Polo. What else? You had a whole bunch back then.
Market the Billionaire Boys Club. RocAWear was estimated to be valued at maybe a little bit under 500 million in 2012, which was lower than they were grossing years before. RocAWear continued to die, but in 2018, May, a ghost from the past would return. The SEC warned Jay-Z and Iconics in May of 2018 that they may have violated federal securities laws. Jay agreed to testify in court regarding the distribution of his apparel line to verify compliance with security regulations. Jay-Z was summoned by the SEC to answer questions about a $200 million contract he signed with Iconics brand group in 2007. He remained with the company after its sale as CCO. To acquire further brands, Iconics and the celebrity will form a new firm as part of the agreement.
Look, I got a question. Whatever happened to freaking Don C's? Like, I don't see nobody really rocking Don C's no more. I feel like them James went out of style. They still popular to me. They still dope to me, but you don't really see them no more.
The company had been under scrutiny from the SEC over its dealings with the brands it represents, which included Ed Hardy, Echo, and Umbro, for possible violations of securities laws. In light of his commercial links with Iconics, the commission wants Jay-Z to talk about them, the report said. When Jay failed to make his planned appearance, U.S. market officials allegedly turned to a New York court for help. To the SEC, Jay-Z did not attend as required by the subpoenas, and he did not designate any further dates when he would be ready to participate in the probe. He had to appear in court twice, first in November and again in February, when he was forced to get new legal counsel. Some claim that he wasn't there as the main target involved in the investigation. To paraphrase, we know that the SEC has doubts about how Iconics releases its financial information. Jay-Z was completely uninvolved in the report or any other decisions made by the publicly listed company Iconics. The SEC said it issued a compelling order for Jay-Z to provide information about his
recently
joint
viral,
ventures,
I think.
but the order did not establish that he had violated any security laws. Jay-Z was clashing with Iconics over the RocAWear logo. He had problems with them in the past. They were at odds over using the brand. In 2015, they agreed to submit any future disagreements to confidential arbitration, and due to the dispute, both parties had to pay.
That's the only real time I could say I seen Jay-Z sit down with somebody recently is with Kevin Hart. Other than that, he don't really do interviews.
For the services of 4 arbitrators, these independent third parties who resolve disputes out of court, to reach a resolution. The issue that Jay-Z had was there was a shortage of black arbitrators in the US, and his point was that only 3 of the nearly 200 members of the American Arbitration Association had been publicly identified as being black, which he would find out. And as it stood, one of the 3 arbitrators favored Iconics' side of the argument. According to The Guardian, Jay-Z's lawyers had filed a suit in Manhattan Supreme Court arguing that the lack of racial diversity denies plaintiffs of color a genuine opportunity to have their claims considered by a panel of arbitrators representing their backgrounds and life experiences. According to the petition, both the New York State Constitution and a human rights statute in New York City are being broken due to the absence of a considerable amount of black arbitrators. A member of Jay-Z's team claimed that white arbitrators had an unconscious prejudice towards black defendants. And as for the partnership with Dame, that had been over. In 2019, though, Jay-Z would officially buy back the intellectual property rights for RocAWear for $15 million. He got back one of the things that he had founded, as well as getting back years before the masters to his own recordings. Since then, we haven't seen much being done with RocAWear's brand or intellectual property. The clothing has been dead, like I had mentioned earlier, but Jay-Z definitely has something in store for it.
Man, I think he probably definitely got something coming up, and I wonder if it would sell or not. Like, will people still buy into it just because of Jay-Z, or people will be like, nah, that's some old school stuff? Because I see a Vizu still selling sweaters for like $200 and $100 and stuff like that. Design's still kind of dope. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. With that being said, I appreciate y'all for the love and support. Love is love, and I'm gonna catch you in the next video.